Hello everyone, this is Devraj Tiwari and I am going to present my current research on the topic use of fiber in the reinforced concrete. Now this is my overview of my presentation, and my presentation includes introduction, types of fibers, review of journals, mechanical properties of fiber in reinforcement concrete, and research design method, and limitation references. Now think what is the fiber reinforcement concrete and why it is important. Now these are the sample pictures of the fiber reinforcement concrete, and this is the steel sample of one of the steel fiber reinforcement concrete. And the concrete, now the introduction. Concrete is generally defined as a mixture of the cement, aggregate and water with a definite proportion ratio either by hand or machine. Fibers used as a reinforcement in concrete is known as the fiber reinforcement concrete, and that is the fiber that is used as a reinforcement in concrete is used to produce the tensile strength as well as the increase the mechanical properties of the concrete. These are some of the samples of the fiber reinforcement concrete. Now types of fibers. There are mainly four types of fibers: steel fiber, natural fiber, glass fiber, and synthetic fiber. Steel fiber. These are some of the sample pictures of the different types of the fibers, and these are the basalt fibers. And now the steel fiber. Steel fiber has the aspect ratio extremely prominent. The steel fiber that has the great strength as well as the great tensile strength, that has the aspect ratio prominent, high structural strength, improved durability, that has the great durability, and as well as the that steel fibers is used for the structure where the high strength is needed and the high strength is needed and the light weight is shouted. At that condition, steel fiber is used in the construction. And glass fiber, resistance to the corrosion and thermal shock. Glass fiber is has the property of the resistance to corrosion as well as the thermal shock. Low modulus of elasticity, high cost. Initially, it needs the high cost, especially used in the corrosive environment instead of steel, such in the swimming pools, sea coast slides, where the marine area as well as the sea coast sites, there may be the chance of the corrosive reaction for the steel fibers. At that condition, at that situation, glass fiber will be the suitable one of the suitable methods to make a reinforcement in the concrete. Now the natural fiber. Natural fiber is obtained in the low cost, in the local technology, as well as it has the low durability. And generally, such fiber are used for the temporary constructions. And most of the developing countries use as a natural fiber for their construction of their houses, because that costs low cost for the construction. And that is the basalt fiber. It has the same chemical property as the glass, obtained from the basalt rock when melting, and resistance to the alkaline, acidic, and the salt attack. And this has the resistance to the alkaline, acidic, and the salt attack, used for the moderate strength and high resistance of the concrete. And it can be used instead of the glass if we can use. But this has the moderate, this has the great strength than with respect to the glass. Now the synthetic fibers. Synthetic fibers are made of the polyolefin, acrylic, aramid, and carbon. And these fibers has been the many of the researchers have researched about these fibers. And this fiber as also known as the plastic fibers, and are also known as plastic fibers, and the plastic fibers may be the microplastic as well as the microplastic. Nowadays, many research are attacked on the microplastic fibers, mainly for the polypropylene, because it has a great property, and most of the research papers describe the mechanical properties of the fiber in reinforcement concrete, but have the limitation on the durability characteristics under mechanical loads in different temperature conditions. Now there are some of the review journals in my research paper. And the synthetic fibers include the low temperature and anti-cracking properties, fatigue life, and durability of asphalt concrete mix. That is from the Chen et al. Has described that the synthetic fibers have the low temperature, anti-cracking properties, fatigue life, and durability. And similarly, the Cassett et al. Have described that the polypropylene fibers will increase the ductility of the concrete and can be used for when absorbing the impact energy. And FRM materials may lose the structural property at a high temperature. Then another research by the Singh et al. Has described that the FRM materials can lose the structural property at the high temperature condition. And Zhao et al. Discussed the carbon fibers will be a new technology in future. Definitely, the carbon fibers as well as the synthetic fibers have the great future and have the great scope in the recent year. Workability of concrete. Workability of fiber reinforced concrete can be done only through the SWAMP test. It can be sometimes found by the secondary test. And it was found that the workability of concrete decreases due to the surface area and size of the fibers in relation to the other constituent particles in concrete. And this is discovered by the Aziz et al. And they had that due to the increase of the fiber, the workability of the concrete can be decreases. The compressive strength, fiber reinforcement has significant increase on the concrete composites. And the Bullard et al. Has described that the fiber reinforcement has a little bit influence on the concrete composite about the compressive strength, and that compressive strength is differed by the volume of the fibers that are used in the concrete is for the reinforcement also. Study by in et al. Point out that fibers have a property to distribute stress, slow down crack propagation process. This is the one of the typical compressive stress strain called a different fiber volume fraction by Ozomethy et al. And this diagram shows that the fiber which has the low percentage of the fiber in the concrete shows that it has the stress and strain relation is that the strain is stress is low, and the fiber which has the high percentage of concrete that has the compressive strength has the stress and strain diagram low as compared to other one. Next. Flexural strength. Flexural strength can be done in the 3-point of loading and 4-point of loading. That has pointed out by the Ino et al. State that the decrease of microsynthetic fiber in concrete increases the modulus of stability. That Hazim et al. State that the decrease of the microsynthetic fiber in the concrete increases the modulus of the elasticity. The test of Alexander et al. Found that fiber volume fraction did not affect the flexural strength of the concrete. That the flexural strength of the concrete is not affected by the fibers and the splitting tensile strength. Microsynthetic fibers reinforcement concrete cylinder show the better tensile strength than the plain cement concrete. In context of the splitting tensile strength, in it had pointed out that the microsynthetic fiber reinforcement concrete has show the better tensile strength as compared to the plain concrete. Synthetic fiber reinforcement concrete has ability to absorb the energy as well as the post-cracking state. Now this is the test results for the assessment of fresh concrete and mechanical properties that is discussed by the Albert et al. And these data show that the slump flow test, from the slump flow test we can analyze that as the fiber, as the increase of the fiber goes up, the workability of the concrete decreases. And similarly, B-funnel test also point out that the workability of the concrete will definitely decrease as the increase in the volume of the fiber. The compressive strength of the concrete is also decreases where the fiber content is increased, where the fiber content has an increase. And similarly, elasticity modulus of the concrete also decreases as the increases in the fiber in the concrete. And indirect tensile strength, that is the splitting tensile strength, that splitting tensile strength is increases as there is the increase in the fiber volume of the fraction. Now the question now, the gap from the research is that can microsynthetic fiber as a reinforcement in concrete can be used in the any temperature condition? Can they are used in the different temperature conditions? Now this is my research design methods. I have used the fibers that is made from the Australian made fiber produced that is produced by the Fibercon International, and that were used in the fiber reinforcement concrete. And the 0.45% by volume was used for the preparation of the concrete. Now the concrete will produce of the 20 MPa strength class, and concrete mix from the Cement Australia is used. That is the concrete mix that is produced by the concrete mix is the one of the cement that is produced by the Cement Australia. And the method dry materials were mixed to form a homogeneous distribution. First of all, the dry materials such as fiber, aggregate, cement were mixed for the homogeneous to form a homogeneous distribution. Then after the addition of the water is added. The water cement ratio is maintained to be a 0.45 ratio to maintain a 0.45, not more than that. Construction of cylindrical specimens of 150 and 300 and beam of 150 and 150 has constructed for the different mechanical properties tested of the cylinders as well as the beams. Now this is the experimental program. In the experimental program, mechanical properties of the synthetic fiber reinforcement concrete of cylinder and beam were tested in two different temperature conditions. That is one of the hot humid climate condition, that is 40 degrees Celsius, and another is taken is the cool climate condition, that is the -4 degrees Celsius. The workability of concrete is measured through the slump test carried, that is as far as the Australian standards. Through the slump test we can only measure the workability of the concrete. And experiment is conducted after 20 days curing of cylinder and beams. The cylinders and the beams that are constructed for the experiment have done the curing for the 28 days. And compressive strength of the concrete is carried out in the 3 cylinders. The compressive strength of the concrete is carried out for the 3 cylinders samples, and following the guidelines as far as the Australian standards. Flexural strength of concrete is tested by the 3-point loading method, that can be tested by the 4-point loading method also. But in our experiment we have used the 3-point loading method. Splitting tensile strength of concrete is determined for the 3 cylinder samples after 20 days of curing. And the advantage of this design, the advantage from my research design, I have pointed out that the analyze the use of fiber reinforcement concrete in the hot climate and cool climate. I am just focusing on the temperature of the hot climate and the temperature of the cool climate. At that condition, at that temperature, we can use the microsynthetic fibers. I have the analysis of that questions of that research, and I have also discussed different mechanical properties in my research designs, and that can be the advantage for the other research programs. That can be one of the example can be literature review. And the limitations, I have some limitations in my research design, that the effect in high temperature more than 40 is one of the limitations of the experiment. If the fiber at the high temperature, there can be the change of their structural properties. They may have some of the different results. We can obtain different results. Above the 40 degrees Celsius, what is the effect of the synthetic fiber reinforcement concrete, that has not been discussed in my research paper. Structural behavior of concrete such as torsion, shear is not discussed in my paper. There are some other structural behavior of the fiber reinforcement concrete such as torsion, shear has not been discussed in this paper. And these are the references that I have used for the literature review. And please thank you, and thank you very much.